Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2023 Hungarian Grand Prix. Now, over the years, this hasn't been a race I'd usually look forward to all that much because, well, in the past, it's not always been all that exciting when it comes to race day. It's got to be said, though, in recent years, the track really has delivered some cracking action and it's certainly changed my view of the circuit. But this weekend, there is even more to look forward to and to be intrigued about with the return of Daniel Ricciardo. Will he hit the ground running with AlphaTauri? Can Sergio Perez find some qualifying form? And how will McLaren get on as well? Was that pace from the last two races track specific, or are they right in the mix now? All of that and so much more to look forward to. I really cannot wait for this weekend. But enough of all of that. Let's get on with the preview, starting as always with a look at the circuit and all the usual stats that follow. So last time out, F1 was at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen took yet another win, his 8th of the season and 6th in a row. And of course, where McLaren surprised many of us with their pace. But now it is on to Budapest for the 11th race of the season and the penultimate race ahead of the annual summer break. A lap of the Hungaroring is 4.381 kilometers long. If you prefer that in miles, that's just over 2.7, and is made up of 14 corners with a race lap record of a 1:16.627 set by Lewis Hamilton in 2020. And come Sunday, we are set to see 70 racing laps. There will be 2 DRS zones this weekend to help drivers get some overtaking done. The first zone runs between turns 1 and 2 with the second down the start-finish straight. And both zones, by the way, do share the same detection point, which is just before the final corner. As for the best spot to try and get a move done, it is really without doubt down at turn 1. We do, though, often see cars fight through there and down to turn 2, so hopefully plenty of action between those two corners. But it is tough to pass elsewhere on the circuit. And since its debut on the F1 calendar in 1986, the year I was born, which is not all that long ago, so shush, the track has hosted 37 races with 19 different drivers taking victory in that time, Lewis Hamilton taking the most wins at the circuit with 8. As for last year, it was, perhaps unsurprisingly, Max Verstappen who took the win in Hungary despite going for a spin at one stage, leading home the Mercedes duo of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Now, Max Verstappen, who, in case you hadn't noticed, is absolutely dominating this season, is going for his 9th win of the year already this weekend and his 7th win in a row. Just crazy. And also, on the off chance you didn't know, 9 minus 7 equals 2, and 2 is the minimum number of dry tyre compounds a driver must use during a race. Oh yes, that is right. For the first time ever, it's a mandatory pit stop segue into Tyre Talk time. And you think I'm running out of ideas. Anyway, the compounds available for this one are actually a step softer than last year and the softest in the range. And so they are obviously the hard C3, the medium C4 and the soft C5. This circuit is largely made up of slower corners, so traction will be critical, and you can also expect to see downforce levels similar to the ones we see in Monaco. The biggest risk to the tyres is overheating, and managing the rears and the left front will be key when it comes to strategy. Pirelli adding that due to the high ambient and track temperatures and the fact the circuit is in a natural bowl with little airflow, thermal management of the tyres will be a big challenge. The favoured strategy tends to be a two-stopper at the Hungaroring, and that was the case last year with Max Verstappen starting on the softs before running 2 stints on the mediums. And the total pit lane loss time in 2022, according to the FIA summary, was between 21 and 23 seconds, with the fastest pit stop of the race being 2.19 seconds, and that was carried out by Red Bull. Safety cars are not all that common in Hungary. We saw one before and after the red flag in 2021, and we did get a couple of virtual safety cars last year and in 2018. However, the last full safety car period prior to 2021 was actually in 2017, and I've checked this stat multiple times, so it is correct, and I had to keep checking it because I didn't quite believe it. Only 6 races in total at the circuit have seen a full safety car deployed, and the first one didn't happen until 2006. So long story short, don't bank on too many race interruptions that could help or hinder strategy on Sunday. There is more on tyres. The tyre allocation will be slightly different for this one, as for the first time, the catchily named Alternative Tyre Allocation, or ATA, will be enforced for qualifying, the first of 2 trials of the new format in 2023. It all means that drivers will have 11 sets of tyres instead of the usual 13, and that will be made up of 3 sets of hards, 4 sets of mediums, and 4 sets of the softs. And just 1 mandatory slick compound for each qualifying session will be available, and that is broken down as follows. So, in Q1, all drivers will only be allowed to run the hard tyres. In Q2, only the mediums can be used. And in Q3, you guessed it, drivers can only use the soft compound. The new rules being trialled are designed to improve sustainability by reducing the number of sets of tyres that Pirelli brings to each race weekend. But it is also hoped that it will add some variety when it comes to race day strategy. And if you're wondering, the next trial after Hungary will be at Monza, and following that, the FIA and teams will decide whether or not to adopt the changes permanently for 2024. Moving on though, and the weather is once again set to be a little bit mixed for this one, although the race should be dry. At time of recording, the forecast says that the first practice session will be dry with highs of 28 degrees, but the second practice session will be ever so slightly cooler at 26 degrees, and there is apparently a 92% chance of rain hitting the circuit. And just to confirm, because it does come up from time to time, the forecasts I use are for a percentage chance of rain falling. Saturday should be dry with highs of 27 degrees for qualifying, and on Sunday, as already touched on, no rain is expected as of now, with highs for the start of the race currently forecast to be around 29 degrees. And your schedule for this one is back to the usual European times. Also, F2 and F3 are in action this weekend. So, FP1 kicks the weekend off on Friday from 12:30 PM BST, and FP2 takes place later that afternoon at 4 PM. The third practice session gets the Saturday F1 action going from 11:30 AM with qualifying underway from 3 PM. And it is lights out for the race on Sunday at 2 PM, and once again that is in UK time. Now, before I make some predictions, there are a couple of things I've picked out that are well worth a mention ahead of the weekend. Just the 2 topics though this week, because I did cover the qualifying trial earlier in the preview. First up, there are plenty of teams bringing updates to their cars this weekend. Red Bull has confirmed they will have a couple of upgrades on the car in Hungary, and according to Automotor und Sport, the world champions will have newly designed side pods and bodywork, as well as some other updates, which it is rumoured could make the car as much as 0.2 of a second per lap faster. I'm sure that's music to the ears of their rivals. Aston Martin will also have some new bits on their car, as confirmed by Mike Crack last time out, who said the team actually have something new coming at each of the next 2 races and for Zandvoort after the summer break as well. The team's performance director Tom McCulloch said the updates will complement the other new parts recently brought to the car over the past month. He also added that the development of this year's car has been more qualifying focused because the team were, quote, a little bit too race focused at times last year, and we sort of consciously tried to balance that out a bit better. Didn't know that. Interesting stuff. We already knew McLaren were bringing the final 25% of their big upgrade to Budapest, with Andrea Stella explaining the focus will be on trying to improve the car's race pace, and the upgrades will be available to both drivers. He also added that although the high-speed nature of the Silverstone circuit and conditions worked in their favour, he believes the team has made a genuine step forward in performance. It's also worth a mention that the second phase of AlphaTauri's upgrade introduced at Silverstone is also expected to arrive in Hungary. As always though, that is not an exhaustive list, so keep an eye on the cars in practice and during the car presentation to see who else is running some new parts for this one. And finally, for this part at least, and just in case you've been living on Mars or something and haven't heard the news, Daniel Ricciardo is back this weekend, replacing Nick de Vries at AlphaTauri for the remainder of the 2023 season after the Dutchman was let go. And in his pre-weekend quotes, Ricciardo says he transition to the team has gone smoothly, and he felt very much at home when he visited Faenza last week for the first time as an AlphaTauri driver. Looking ahead to Hungary and the rest of the season though, Ricciardo says he does not want to have too many preconceived ideas about the car, and he believes if it is a car that feels balanced, it's something he will be able to work with. He did also admit that it'll be a challenge to hop in the car and hit the ground running immediately, but he's excited about it, and his goal for this weekend is to, quote, have fun, try and use more right foot than left foot, and have a good time. Fair enough. And Yuki Tsunoda, on the topic of this weekend, says the slow corners should suit the car much better than previous races have. So hopefully, with all of that in mind and the update coming, it's a better weekend for AlphaTauri. Right then, time for me to make my usual round of predictions, and as always, please do not take these too seriously. They're just a little bit of fun, but if you do disagree with my picks, then you can let me know yours in the comment section down below. And last time out, McLaren really threw a spanner in the works for me. I did not expect them to do as well as they did. I don't think anybody did. But still, points on the board for Verstappen winning and fastest lap. And yes, even though they were second best at Silverstone, I have still given myself a point for McLaren being top of the midfield because, well, they technically were. If you're not happy with that, though, I will knock it off my season score next week. Not that my season score is all that good. But anyway, on to this week, and I will be doing realistic picks once again for this one, but with one addition. Before I get to that part, though, it will likely come as no great surprise to hear that Red Bull should be strong again this weekend because, well, they're strong every weekend, at least on Verstappen's side of the garage anyway. And if that upgrade really does bring the rumoured 0.2 improvement, then, well, yeah, it's going to be tough to see anybody beating them, even though some will have improved and are improving. That said, Hungary should on paper suit Aston Martin quite nicely, and this was earmarked earlier in the year by Fernando Alonso as one of the tracks they have a shot at winning at. So maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to take the fight to Red Bull on Sunday. We shall see, of course, but I still think the Bulls will come away with the win unless we get some drama. So, once again, I'll say Verstappen for pole, win and fastest lap. I know, just give you a second to get over that massive shock. I am going to get behind Perez a little bit this weekend, and I will predict that he manages to qualify inside the top 3 on Saturday and manages to convert that into a second place finish on Sunday. And I was thinking about this yesterday. If he can make top 6 from 15th on the grid, he should be finishing P2 if he makes the top 3 on a Saturday. I don't think that's a massively controversial statement. I'm sure it's upset somebody. But anyway, as for the final step on the podium, I will believe that this track will suit Aston and that their upgrade gives them a boost, and say they'll bounce back from a disappointing last couple of races and go with Fernando Alonso for P3. I've got to pick McLaren for best team in the midfield again because the upgrade over the last 2 races has really moved them forward, and that final phase arriving in Hungary could give them even more pace. My extra prediction, though, is a new one I'm simply calling Where Will Ricciardo Finish? If that becomes a regular feature, I feel like that needs a cheesy jingle. Let me know what you think, where Ricciardo will finish, not about the jingle. I'm sure there will be some saying he'll struggle and others saying he'll score some points, but I'm going to say that he will finish in P12 on Sunday. Alright, fine, that doesn't sound epic and perhaps isn't in keeping with the hype the media are building, but the car, as we keep saying, is bad, and even with an upgrade, it's not going to suddenly be super fast. And don't forget, the Aussie has not raced in F1 since Abu Dhabi last year, so he could easily struggle. But 12th place on Sunday would actually match the best result of Nick de Vries in 2023, and I think that would be a really solid start for Ricciardo. That is it for the Hungarian Grand Prix preview then, but don't forget you can let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend in the comments section down below. Now, I will be back shortly after qualifying on Saturday with the post-quali waffle, and I'll be live again on Sunday with the usual race reaction stream. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help give the channel a bit of a boost, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.